Welcome to the DGS Action News. I'm Blake and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Noah and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Alexis and I'm also in 7th grade. This week's episode is about inclusion. I'm personally in the Autism Center ILT with Miss Katie, and I love it so much because we're learning how to do things like cook, like along with all the other kids who are in the Autism Center. So it's like we're learning alongside them. We're like learning together.
Inclusion means having friends of any race or any disability.
To me, inclusion, there's a really big part of that comes from empathy, like seeing other people's situations from their point of view. And I feel like that really applies to the Autism Center because I feel like they communicate that they want to be seen as the same like everybody else. And so I feel like if we can include them in our community and see them the same with our empathy.
Hi, I'm Isla. This is the DGS Action News, and I'm here with Miss Katie from the Autism Center. We have students from the Autism Center in classes and other neurodiverse students in classes. What advice do you have to support inclusion for these students?
I think that's a great question. What's most important is that we're leading with curiosity rather than judgment to support inclusion. You know, how does this person see the world? Just kind of asking that question and wanting to get to know them for who they are. Things that you can do in class is say hi to them, learn their name, include them in activities. Sometimes it can be challenging to join a group when teacher says buddy up or pair up. So just noticing people around you, and if they don't have a buddy or a pair, ask them to join you. Those are all things that you can do in your classes to support inclusion.
Sometimes neurodiverse students have unexpected reactions to social situations. How do you advise students to respond in those situations?
That's another good question. I think this can be really challenging because oftentimes when people have unexpected reactions, it also creates a reaction within ourselves. The best thing that we can do in those times is to, one, make sure that we're regulated and that we are able to communicate clearly and to still set those boundaries, right? It's really important for that clear communication. If someone is in my space, I'm like, excuse me, you are in my space, can you please take a step back? Also, when there are big emotions arising from yourself, from the person that you're interacting with, it's always helpful to get an adult to help facilitate that. A lot of students in our Autism Center and some that are in just our school as a whole have adults with them to help them navigate challenging social situations. And so if you're finding yourself in there and you're unable to communicate that clear boundary, then getting an adult is always a great idea.
Thanks, Ms. Katie, for sharing some of that information about inclusion. I think another good thing for our students to know is that in addition to our Autism Center, we also have other neurodiverse students at our school. And these are students who might be in all of your classes, but just like many of our students, brains might function a little bit differently. And sometimes our students are put in a situation where maybe they are the recipient of some unexpected behavior. And I think it's really important for our students to be aware that just like many things in life, the Goldilocks approach is important. We want to set a boundary perhaps because we found some behavior to be uncomfortable, but we want to do so the right way. Setting a clear boundary, using clear language, just like Ms. Katie spoke about, and maybe avoiding some of those like colloquial teenage expressions like get off me bro, or raising the stakes and kind of using language that isn't appropriate. That's not going to yield a good response, but also ignoring behavior is not going to yield a good response. So setting a clear boundary and making sure if we are feeling uncomfortable, we're saying something, but we're doing so in a way that's appropriate and empathetic. Mr. Morning has some more ideas on this.
The most helpful thing, like where you can't go wrong, is just to always have the right level of empathy for another student, especially our neurodiverse students. And so set the boundaries that you need to set. We don't want anyone feeling uncomfortable with any other student in our community. So it's okay to set like some firm lines, but then also understand hey, there is an extra level of empathy that I can show for another student who may just not quite be able to read the room the same way as everyone else.